Council. Whoops, I'm getting a message. Give me a second. I'm working a couple of technical areas here. Share. So let me know if you guys can see my screen at the moment, and hopefully you're seeing a PowerPoint that says Cub Scouting in a COVID environment. And the very first thing I want to do is I want to introduce my panel to you. There we go. And the panelists that we have with us this morning are Danielle Pate from PAC 613. She's the committee chair. We have Jillian Godbot from PAC 292, Den leader. And I'm sure you probably wear other hats as well. And I mean, usually us as leaders tend to wear a lot of different hats. Vic Carbonneau, Junior, I didn't put the junior there, but you, Cub Master from PAC 75, and Melissa Woods, committee chair, I believe, from probably other hats as well, with PAC 201. Some of the special guests that we have with us this morning are Jay Gary, our Daniel Webster Council Scout Executive, Derek Wirtz, who's our Daniel Webster Council Chief Operating Officer, and Tyler Yankee, who is our Field Director. So one of the things I'd like to start off with this morning is to go into a little bit of a safety moment. And one of the things that as we start to do roundtables or virtual roundtables and even in-person roundtables is something we should be introducing is a safety moment, and not just at our roundtables, but think about it as well from a Pac meeting perspective in terms of introducing a safety moment. And so one of the things that we have shared online with our units, and I'll get to where you can find all of this, is a restarting scouting checklist. And this checklist is pretty simple, but it's really designed to help you leaders to kind of navigate through kind of what we're dealing with. And the acronym SAFE is currently what is what's currently out there. SAFE, S stands for supervision. It talks about, understanding the local and state guidance on preventing COVID-19 exposure. It talks about, making sure that you engage your chartering organization and DWC on any necessary adjustments that you may need to do, and conduct before you gather protocols. One of the things that we have here in Daniel Webster Council, if you're not aware of it, is we do have a unit activity agreement, and I'll show you in a minute where you can find that. But that basically says is that there's certain guidance that the state has issued, and that we as DWC have adopted those guidances to help you guys navigate through the COVID, and to help you guys to be able to better operate in today's COVID environment. The A stands for assessment, and which is basically, identify participants who fall under the CDC's group of higher risk individuals. For example, those who are over the age of 65 are of greater risk. Those who maybe have some pre-existing conditions are at greater risk. Verify that the planned activities, gathering, or group sizes are not, that they are permitted by, or not permitted in some cases, by state and local orders. Fitness, review the annual, hopefully, I don't know if you guys do this, I know at the troop levels, they tend to collect the medical forms on an annual basis. They keep them in a binder, and then they basically take that binder with them to every outing that they go on, or every activity, because you just never know what's going to happen. I can remember going on a camping trip, and you had a scout who was working on his whittling chip, and well, let's just say he accidentally cut himself. So there was a trip to the hospital that we had to make, and everything else. The good news is we had the form with us, and we were able to bring that with him to the hospital. And then finally, equipment, which is verify that hand washing, hygiene, cleaning supplies are available, monitoring safe social distancing, all of this. Everything that I've presented here, you guys can find on the council website. the council website, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Hopefully, all right. It'll bring, this is the landing page for the Daniel Webster Council. If you scroll down, you're going to see here scouting during COVID. And if you click on the COVID-19 resource tab, what you're going to come and what you're going to see is you're going to see guidance in terms of conducting indoor activity guidance. You're going to see unit camping guidance. You're going to see fundraising guidance, for example. Right now I know there is popcorn fundraising that's currently happening. In some cases, some units are doing some other types of activities, but this basically helps to provide you guys with some guidance in terms of how you can conduct those fundraising activities in a safe manner. There's also in here, and I'll just click on this real quick, which is a meeting place inspection sheet. I know one of the questions that we got is we're really struggling in terms of where do we find a meeting place and everything else. And so what this checklist does is it's a standard template, but it just gives you some things to go through and to check. Is the room large enough? Is it heated? Is there enough ventilation? Are windows in good condition? So there's a variety of items that you can go through and check in terms of helping you guys through some of this. The other thing I just wanted to point out real quick is right here, it says COVID-19 unit reopening guidelines and agreement form. And this is the one here where really, in order for you guys to operate at the moment, this is a form that really the page 1 is what the committee chair does need to sign and return back to the Daniel Webster Council. And basically what this form says is that, that you being the unit chair, if you are the unit chair, that you're signing this agreement and that you're acknowledging that all the leaders and the volunteers within the unit will obey by these guidelines. I think what I'm going to say it's good news at the moment, which is that we've been living with COVID-19 now for the better part of 6 to 7 months. And so, for the most part, everybody should know that, you need to maintain social distancing. You need to have proper hygiene in terms of a hand sanitizer, washing your hands frequently. You got to have the face mask. So, at the end of the day, while this may have a lot of verbiage in it or a lot of words, is because, again, we had to follow what the state guidelines were. But this document here is absolutely key for your unit to be able to operate. The other thing, what I'll share with you guys is that without this form, you guys actually may not be covered under BSA insurance. And when I say that is because if there's an incident that occurs while on an outing or you're conducting a unit activity or something like that, one of the questions that the insurance company is going to ask is were you following state and local and council guidelines at the time of the incident? And if you can't check that box yes, there's the potential where the insurance company can decline that claim. So don't put yourselves into that situation where you don't have this document signed off on, and because again, you're putting basically yourselves at risk by not having this form into the council. So I know right now out of the 353 units we have registered in the council, we don't have 100% of these back. Right now, I think that the last count I saw the other day, I think it was around 208 is what we had received. So we still have a fair amount that we have to get back and everything. So I wanted to make sure though that I did walk you guys through where you can find this particular site. And as you can see, I mean, we have quite a few documents that are in here to kind of help you guys navigate through this. So let's see, let me get out of here for a second. Okay, all right. So one of the other things I wanted to share with you guys, and we're going to get to the panelists here in a minute, and this here, these are some survey numbers that our national office conducted. So these are not necessarily related to anything that families here in DWC. So this isn't specific to DWC. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight on here is that it says that 34, the national survey that was conducted said that 34%, or a third of our families in our units, basically are just not comfortable in terms of having in-person type meetings. And that's really not too far off from, I've had a few units conduct surveys themselves, and that's really not too far off of what I think a lot of you guys are currently experiencing as well. There's a couple of other things on here as well. The number one thing that's on here is obviously is nearly 50% have no place to meet. And that's a struggle. Right now, I mean, the weather is still conducive enough to where you can meet outside and you can conduct activities and everything. But we all know, and this started real early, that virtual meeting fatigue is there. I mean, basically, Zoom almost has become a curse word to many people. It's like, oh, I got to attend another Zoom meeting and everything else. So virtual fatigue is absolutely there, and everything. So I wanted to share this with you, some of these numbers and some of the statistics that the national office has shared with us. One of the keys, I think, right now, in terms of us being able to really kind of conduct unit activity, is we have to embrace flexibility. And what I'm showing you right now is some of the numbers that I have seen from units in terms of and these are this is DWC. So where some units have gone out and they've reached out to their families, and generally, these are roughly where the numbers are kind of been falling on what I've seen, but nearly 60% of the families right now, at least in DWC, do not mind that we have in-person training. 27% kind of want a little bit of a hybrid type approach. So a little bit virtual, a little bit in person, but they don't want it to be full-blown in person. And then 15% right now really kind of want more of a virtual type of experience. And so, right now in a COVID type environment, it's not a one size fits all. And so, which I know right now puts a lot of additional stress. I have Vic Carbonell, you're one of our larger units. Danielle, you're one of our larger units here in the Daniel Webster Council. And, it's a challenge. And so Vic, I mean, how large of a unit do you currently have?
Right now, we're actually down to 32 scouts. We usually charter with 55 to 60 in that range and everything. So we've lost quite a few, and most of them are not coming back because they don't feel comfortable in the COVID environment. So, yeah.
And Danielle, how many scouts are you at right now?
We're currently at 82, but I would probably say about 60 to 70 are active.
Okay. All right. And then, I mean, have you guys, and so like Vic, so the scouts or the parents who aren't comfortable, right? I mean, are they willing to entertain other options? Or they're saying they're not comfortable because we're not sure you can give us a good program for our kids right now?
I think a lot of them have other situations going on at home that, I'm still trying to get the information from them on how I could make it better for them. I think a lot of them are still struggling with, figuring out how school works, and just getting to that point and everything, and said, we're just going to take one thing at a time right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I did have one family that just isn't comfortable. They said they don't want to be wearing masks. They don't want to do scouting with masks. And I said, they're not going to be able to come without the masks. But and there's going to be a few of those.
Right. Jillian, you have been pretty active in terms of offering some in-person program, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this photo of where you were actually conducting, I think it was at the cyber chip.
Yep.
And you know, if I look at this photo right now, you know, I can see where the scouts are socially distanced. You know, it looks like there's maybe some parents over here in the background, I'm assuming, sitting in some chairs and everything else. So talk to us a little bit about some how you've been managed to do some in-person den leader training or den leader meetings.
So we, my fellow leader, Mike Cartelick, and I reached out and did a parent-only Zoom call back in August, along with a survey to our parents to figure out where their comfortability is, especially because this particular den is an AOL den, so we need to start visiting troops this year and really having that interaction to get ready for crossover. So we tried to feel them out as best as we could. And then we've been doing it with their feedback. I've actually opened up my backyard, and we've been doing it at our yard. There, the Cyber Chips video is actually being reflected on the Pac trailer because I happen to have our committee chair lives at this house too. So we've been, we use that to make things easy, but we've been able to do a lot of things in person because we did try to have that open, frank, honest conversation with our parents up front. And we asked them what they were comfortable with, and we tried to work around that as much as possible. We were a very large unit as well. We've been in the 70s for years, and we are down, way down, too. So we hear everybody's struggles with that. And we found that the best thing for retainment was just to kind of meet the families where they're at. And we're trying to be outside as much as possible right now, and then we're going to play it by ear as the weather goes, but we're also actively looking at other places because we have been disrupted as well. We are not allowed to use our schools in town at the moment. We're in the same battle I think everybody else is in.
Melissa, how PAC 201, how are you guys handling den meetings and as well?
We are very fortunate that our charter organization has a piece of property that we've been able to use for our den meetings outside. So we've been going over to, there's a pavilion that the American Legion owns in town that they've been allowing us to use. They even had a porta potty put there so that we could provide facilities for the younger scouts. And as the weather gets colder, they are now starting to have indoor events at their facility in town. So that has opened up for us to use as well. Prior to that, though, we've been having den leaders, if they were comfortable, they've been having meetings at their homes as well, because we have about 21 active scouts right now. And several of the dens are very tiny. So it's allowed the den leaders to have that opportunity to host the meetings at their homes. So
great. Danielle, what about in PAC 613? How has you know, have you guys gone down the path of offering den meetings, and how is that going so far for you?
Yeah, so similar to what Jillian mentioned, we actually did a PAC survey to see where families sit and reside, and we incentivized them to respond because we needed the feedback, and we offered them their current ranks, neckerchief, and slide to get them to come back. And for the most part, people wanted to meet. We have a couple of families that are only doing it virtual. So I have a, like John mentioned, I have many hats. So I'm also a den leader of a Weeblo den of 12 boys. And I have one family there that wants to do everything virtual. So I just check in with them every week or so and drop off any supplies they may need. But other than that, dens right now have been meeting outside, taking advantage of the weather. Mostly, I've used a town park. We have one family that has set up logs, and every kid has their own log, so they know where they're supposed to sit and can't wiggle away. And they have had den meetings there. Like Jillian mentioned as well, our schools aren't allowing us to meet at the schools, which we've used in the past. However, a lot of our den meetings are held at local churches, and the church is still open, and they're allowing us, if we want to meet indoors, that we could proceed with doing that. But right now we're just trying to really enforce the outing and scouting and doing as much as we can outside.
Great. And then Vic, how about on your side? How successful have you been in terms of offering den meetings?
The den meeting, yeah, each den has been coming up with their own plans, and most of them are all outside. They're doing the same, where they're taking advantage of the nice weather and getting back outside. Some of them have changed the formats of their meetings to, rather than multiple weeks, they have one big hike activity that's a 2-hour hike, and they're completing the advancement that way. And so they're kind of mixing it up, and most of ours have also moved to weekends, where we used to meet Thursday nights, but now we're meeting on the weekends, which seems to be working okay for some of these families.
Okay, so it seems like on the previous slide where I talked about embracing I think flexibility or something like that. You guys seem to, is exactly what you guys have had to do is you've had to be very flexible in terms of how you deliver the program, and you've offered different alternatives to to the members in your units, it sounds like. And you guys are also, it sounds like too, what you're doing is being creative and thinking a little bit outside the box as well. So one of the things I want to talk about real quick here too is Pac Meetings. And again, I hope you don't mind. I stole another video. It's a great one of Pac 292, where they held a Pac meeting at Camp Carpenter. And in this particular case, you guys launched bottle rockets, right, Jillian?
Yep.
Yep. Well, yeah. And that was a fun activity. How'd you go about conducting that activity?
So I would highly suggest using camp if you're Massabesic. We are within 20 minutes of camp. So Derry, Manchester, Hooksett, Auburn, all of us are so close to camp, and camp's been so great on letting us use their facilities. I had a Lions meeting on the porch of the dining hall last night because they were worried about the weather. And so they've been really, really helpful. So we had our Pac meeting, again, looking at that 50 number. I know Danielle and us talk frequently because we were a pack of a similar size, at least up until this year. So we've had to split our Pac meetings in two. So we do the younger ones with the older ones, and then we do the middle ranks at a different time. So this particular Pac meeting we did on a Saturday afternoon at camp. We did the Bears, Lions, and Tigers, I want to say, at 1. And then we did the whole thing all over again at 3 with the AOLs and Wolves and maybe Weaves. I don't know. We divided them in half. So this way we weren't worried about hitting that 50 or going over that 50 mark. And we just ran the exact same program. And we try to pay attention to where we had our siblings and try to at least do those groups together. Because in Hooksett, we have a lot of large families, and we definitely have multiples in different ranks from the same family. And we did bottle rockets. We just asked them to, instead of doing their bottle rockets there, which would have been the gathering activity in previous years, we try to run bottle rockets every other year as a recruitment event. We asked them to come pre-made. And as you can see, we had all our safety in place, and it made it run actually a little bit quicker, which was good for the little ones because we didn't lose their attention.
So Vic, I know you've held a Pac meeting as well. So what have you done in terms of your Pac meetings that you've held?
Yeah, so actually we do bottle rockets as well. The kids love shooting off those rockets and everything, and it's a big draw for bringing in new kids and stuff. So we've been working with the town, and they're letting us use one of the ball fields. And so we've been setting up there, and we actually broke the pack up into 2 groups. So the first group comes, it's the younger dens, so your lions, tigers, and wolves. And they come and they go and they have their rockets, and we launched them off. We have a couple other stations that they'll rotate through. And then after they leave, we have about a half hour. We go around, try to disinfect and clean everything. And then the next group comes in just to accommodate the size of the pack and keep the numbers down and everything. So, yeah.
Melissa, how are you guys? Have you guys held a Pac meeting yet?
We have not. We have just been underway with getting our dens up and running, so we have not had a pack meeting quite yet. So,
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I kind of view that as, to me, your den meetings are your foundation. And so if you can't get your foundation kind of stabilized, then you're not going to really have much of a pack meeting. So you're not going to have much of a pack, to be honest with you, if you can't get your den at your den level stabilized and you have that foundation firm. How about Danielle? How about yourself?
So we haven't done any, we'll call the formal side of a pack meeting with an open and closing and any sort of recognition. We've been doing, just kind of to emphasize what you just said, John, is that we've been focused on really building the foundations of our dens. However, we do a pack event every month. That's why, I'm at a camp out this weekend we have 21 stayed over last night and we have 38 staying over tonight. So we're trying to do everything outside as possible through events. And then we also offer a pack hike. And one way we do to manage the numbers, because we're so large, is we have people RSVP and we either limit or we pivot, and we'll break things up into time slots. We called it Amherst, and we did Pac 613 Cub Scout Day, where we got the archery and BB range from council, and they came down and we used that as a recruitment event. And at that time we had to split up because so many people were interested in doing it. So we had 90 minutes for the younger kids and then 90 minutes for the older kids. And we just cycled everyone in and out through that. So if we need to, we do, move people back and forth and try to, utilize RSVPs just to get an idea of the interest.
So I've heard two nice recruitment ideas right now. One is, Danielle, in your case, you reached out to the council and asked if the PAC could use the mobile recruiting trailer that the council had invested in for last year actually, and you brought that to an area where it allowed you guys to introduce non-scouts to the BBs and the archery and give them a little bit sense of some fun and a taste of what they might experience at summer camp. The other idea that I heard from Vic, and I love that one, which is the bottle rockets, and offering that up as a, hey, non-scouts, you want to come and shoot a water bottle rocket, and have some fun and everything else. And I think that's really the key, especially at the Cub Scout level, right? When you make Cub Scouting, if it feels like they're in school, right? They're not going to have any fun right? They're not going to stay in the program. And so it's so important that as, especially at these young ages, that we have to introduce the fun aspect into scouting. And not make it so boring and lecture type, and that's the hard part. So the interesting thing is, I believe Jillian has mentioned it now, and Danielle has mentioned it, which is with respect to our 50-person limit that the council currently has. So what I'm going to do actually at the moment is I'm going to put Jay Gary on the spot, and because one of the questions that we have gotten is that when are guidelines going to change? Kids in schools have much less restrictions.
Okay, so thank you, John. I appreciate the opportunity to be put on the hook here. And actually, what I will tell you is I have some good news. We've been working steadily since March when we all went into quarantine to find ways to be as adaptive as we can to the situation. And I just want to say how enthusiastic I am about the fact that we have such great panelists on here first. I'm not dodging the question, but I want to say that, what's made scouting so successful during this difficult time is those who found ways to pivot and be creative and just deal with the circumstances in a really cheerful way. And I think you see that in the panelists in terms of trying to be creative and keeping families engaged. So as the school reopening process began to occur, we also evaluated our guidance as well. And we're actually going to be increasing the limit from 50 to 80. And the reason why we're going to go to that level is we want to start this phase-in approach. So we want to be somewhat conservative about the group sizes. You know, obviously we're still concerned about not vectoring the spread of COVID-19. And so as we evaluated the units, trying to engage parents and families and community and ensure that you have enough adult leaders and enough supervision, our risk management committee was adaptable enough to say, look, we think we can lift this and have 8 cohort groups of 10, obviously with adequate supervision built within that. The other thing I want to mention too along those lines is there will be a provision to offer events for larger groups beyond 80, but you will have to submit a request for a variance with the council, and that'll require 3 signatures, one from a medical doctor on the council who can evaluate what your safety plan is. It'll be signed by myself as Scout Executive, and then also John as a council commissioner, since he's so involved with all of the unit guidance and both indoor and outdoor guidance, as well as the camping guidance. So the 3 of us will review anyone that wants to submit a request for over 80. We would try to encourage you to still keep those group sizes low because we certainly don't want to be, you know, that story in the community that vectors a spread through scouting. So we understand the need to get our scouts out there. Our families are really eager to do things other than just, as John mentioned, Zoom meetings or even this hybrid scouting model. So hopefully that lift of 30 members or 30 participants in activities will really help. We also understand that based on the facility use that you might have, if you're in a football field and you want to run an activity for more people, certainly you can find ways to accommodate groups larger than 80, and that's where that safety plan will come in play. Doing rigorous activities, things that will you know, cause you know, what they call, you know, obviously an increase in aerosol or you know, molecules spreading with water molecules, those types of things from a medical standpoint. All of that will be incorporated in the safety plan. So we want to make sure that everybody is good and safe. So I'm actually, in this case, I hope the bearer of some good news, John, by you putting me on the spot by increasing that limit from 50 to 80, and then a provision there for us to go over 80.
Great. Thank you. So I think that is going to be good news. I think Jillian, I think your PAC is scheduled to have a PAC meeting, and I remember talking to your committee chair. He indicated that you guys would be like at 53. So in that case, this kind of helps you out a lot by now you don't have to break it up into two meetings.
Exactly, because we do ours on a Friday night, so then it gets kind of late for the little ones. So it's nice that we can run one campfire program, so those little ones can see the AOLs and the weeps that actually know how to put on a skit and sing a song. Yeah. I think it's just going to be way more beneficial for our program. So we are really excited to hear this. Good.
One of the other questions that we received was, will indoor meetings be allowed? And the answer is yes. Actually, we've been allowing indoor meetings now for a while. And so again, that there are guidelines on the council website under the COVID resource tab that does outline the guidelines for indoor meetings. We are going to be, because of the amendment that of people that Jay had just indicated, we obviously that's hot off the presses. So the guidelines that are currently on the website have not been amended to reflect that, but I can tell you that we will be working to get those amended, and the indoor guidance will also be amended as well. So in there is a calculation for determining, the maximum number of people that can be inside a facility. And that, that calculation is you take the square footage of the location, you divide it by 36. We are going to have to add a new thing where you then divide that by 50 because in talking with the governor's office this past week, we have to insert that little provision as well. So, but at the end of the day, you are absolutely free to go and have indoor meetings. And again, the guidance is there on the council website to be able to do that. One of the questions that's come up is, and this is in the Q&A section, is our charter organization does not allow dens to meet at leaders' homes. Our charter org limits usage of buildings to 40 people total, with a pack of 20 plus kids, or approximately 20. It means we have to ask siblings to stay home, and one parent can come in the building. Makes meetings challenging and hard to recruit. And maybe that's something where, you know, I'm not sure we can answer that question unless anybody here on this call has an idea. But in that particular case, you know, what I can do is I can reach out to you individually and have a discussion with you. And actually, why don't we just talk real quick about other meeting location ideas? You know, one of the things, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Some of the options that I think we have, share. Okay, so some of the things that we have available to us right now is that some meeting space location ideas is, obviously, I know if you're in the southern New Hampshire area, probably from Concord South, this probably makes sense for you. But we do have Camp Carpenter. The dining hall, Manning Hall, and the training center are all going to be open for units to be able to use. Jay, is there going to be and again, I'll put you on the spot, is there a fee attached to them being able to use it for unit meetings?
No, so you know, we are going to offer the facility use for free. Obviously, you know, there'll be a demand for that space, so we'd ask that you just submit your reservation to Val Sites at the council office to make sure that she has the ability to not overbook the use of the facilities. And we obviously have to have time in between to sanitize, but we will actually offer those facilities for free, and we would encourage you to use them. We are still going to charge for camping, for tent camping at the camp, you know, for the general use of the facilities. That just helps keep us generating, you know, some slight revenue. It's not very expensive, and, you know, we are very comparable, or quite frankly, less than a lot of the other camping facilities. And of course, you know, we have great camps. So please take advantage of the use of the space. We want to be as accommodating as we can. And there's really no restriction to the use of that space either. So you can use it Monday through Friday, or Saturday and Sunday for a gathering. To give a comparison, just as one example, to John's square footage analysis of use of space, you know, obviously the dining hall at GSR typically serves about up to 600 people, I believe. And based on the calculation that we've run, you could allow up to 97 people in that space. So, you know, obviously using all of the indoor guidance that we provide at that facility as well. And we'd ask you to, you know, accommodate those guidelines. But other than that, please book with us and use the camp. I know it's a distance for some, but it can give you some relief where you might be restricted in your community.
Yeah. And then for some of the units that are probably north of Concord, and, you know, while I know GSR, you know, it maybe feel like it's a little bit off the beaten path, but it is a nice location. And in that case, you've opened up Carter Lodge and the dining hall. Now, the negative side, and I will say it, is on the dining hall, there's no heat in there in the winter. So really, I mean, in the wintertime, it's going to be limited to Carter Lodge, right? And so, but now some of the other meeting space ideas, and I don't know if anybody has thought about this or not, but contact and reach out to your local fire department. One of the things that, in talking to a few folks, is local fire departments have been very open and welcoming to some activity, some youth. Again, it's going to depend upon your town, and they may not. Danielle, you referred to churches earlier, and how the churches have been allowing you to use some space. Now, you're not chartered by a church, but the churches in your town at least seem to be much more open to giving you some areas in which to meet, correct?
That's correct. We're actually chartered by the Lions Club, who doesn't have a facility. They meet somewhere else. So we've been using churches for years, and the church actually proactively reached out to all the dens that meet there and said, hey, are you meeting here this year? Do you need this space?
Yeah.
I will say,
yeah,
just to add some more ideas in there, Our local library has a meeting space, so libraries might be an option. And then our Parks and Rec department as well. They have an environmental center that we're allowed to use.
Okay. You know, obviously someone's garage, or in some cases, if somebody has a large barn, that's an opportunity. You know, Jillian, you mentioned about meeting, you know, it sounds like your backyard can accommodate some meetings there too. So, you know, I think at the end of the day, I mean, this isn't a complete list, you know, and in terms of this individual whose chartering organization perhaps is a little bit more restrictive, you know, I'll reach out to you afterwards and let's have a conversation. And then maybe what we do is we have a joint conversation with chartering organization where, you know, under the current situation, but perhaps between you and I, we can talk to the charter organization to see if they can give you a little bit more flexibility. Danielle, you mentioned, and this is a question that we had received, was how are other units handling supply distribution? And you mentioned earlier about getting supplies out to some folks. How are you doing that?
So what we've been doing is relying either on a pickup drop off at my house for some families, but primarily what we do is if we have something that has to go pack wide, we distribute to the den leaders and then have the den leaders either during a meeting hand something out or do a drop off. Like I said, I have a large den. I know it takes me 90 minutes to go by everyone's house. I have a route I follow to do drop off, and I'll do it on a Sunday afternoon, and I'll just, you know, the kids get excited about having something come to their house. So we've kind of just put a little more burden on our den leaders to distribute, but it's the only means we've thought of so far.
Yeah. Has, any of the other panelists, how are you guys handling distribution of supplies potentially?
We have kind of a centralized facility behind the American Legion. They have a boathouse. And so what we've done is any kind of community supplies that we'd like to have used by any of the den leaders, we've asked the Legion if we could just put them in the boathouse. We did build shelves last year for each unit in the town to have kind of their own space in the boathouse. So we try to keep it as central as we can, but we've done what Danielle said also and distributed to the den leaders, and that seems to be working too.
Great. So some of the other idea, you know, and let's just bounce this around real quick, which is that, you know, as the weather starts to get colder, have you guys thought about some ideas for either den or pack activities?
Yeah, so with 292, when we did our planning, we did a whole calendar with an A plan and a B plan. So we've already tried to figure out how we can do Pinewood Derby remote and things like that. So and still make it exciting. So we're gonna do glow in the dark Pinewood Derby this year, which we've never done before with black lights and stuff like that. And we're already trying to figure out the spot where we, you know, how we can get the cars dropped off and we can take them without having to cluster everyone in the room, because we do ours historically in January, and we were already thinking things could get rough come flu season. So we did a really good job of trying to come up with an A plan and a B plan throughout the year for facilities and stuff like that. We have a Legion Hall that's always been great to the Scouts if they'll utilize it during the week when it's not being rented out. So we're already starting to figure out who can take what night, you know, and places like that. And we've been very honest with our parents that at some point we might need to go back to Zoom. So we really, when we planned out our year, we planned it out and we were trying to get, just like we always do, all of our outdoor stuff done while the weather's good, and really try to pay attention to that. And we got our cyber chip done a lot earlier than we would normally do. We normally do that around the holidays and when it's a lull in the programming, but we decided to get that just done because of probably going remote or, you know, virtual.
Good. I wanted to go back real quick on the meeting space. And I know, Jay, you had put this out there and I should have picked up on it. I apologize, Melissa, but you know, you're chartered by the American Legion. And so that's another idea is even if you're not chartered by the American Legion, perhaps in your town, reach out to them and see as well, or other civic organizations within the town that has space, and to say, you know, would you be willing to allow us to be able to use your space and meet? And you know, that I should have picked up on it, Melissa, when you were talking about, you know, your chartering organization and everything. So it's another good idea. You know, one of the questions, and I hopefully, you know, one of the questions that we had received was, how are you keeping your units engaged? And you know, it sounds like you guys are doing, it's a struggle, I would imagine, right? I mean, I don't think it's easy. You know, but you know, at the end of the day, I mean, it sounds like, you know, Jillian, you know, you guys got together, you guys formulated a plan A, and it sounds like a plan B as well. What have you got, the rest of you guys, done from that perspective in terms of planning out your scouting year?
Yeah, we also, you know, did the plan A and plan B, you know, the ideal situation, and then, you know, okay, what can we do as a backup? As soon as everything went remote last year, because I work in video production, it was easy for me. I went and launched a YouTube channel and just started recording videos. And we kind of had movie night Pac Meetings, you know, so and some of the kids would send in pictures and videos and everything of what they're doing, how they're continuing scouting at home, and I'd make a little montage and put it in there for them to see. We did our Pinewood Derby virtually. Everyone dropped off the cars here at my house. I set up the track in my back hallway here, and we built a little scene with Lego people watching in the stands and all this stuff, and we recorded it as they were going down. We even sent a GoPro down the track just because it was, because we could, and all these little things just to kind of make it fun and engaging. But what we're doing right now is, because I think eventually we will be going remote, I'm trying to come up with some activities that don't involve sitting at a screen, and they can come pick up a bag of supplies, like here's some stuff to make your own neckerchief slide at home, and different things like that, that, you know, maybe there'll be a short little video online that they can watch with the instructions, but then they get off the screen to go do the activity. Because a lot of the feedback we were getting was, they didn't, you know, they don't want to be on the screens after doing Google Classroom all day and everything. So they want to do more stuff off screen. And if we can come up with more different types of programs like that, then I think it'll be good for them.
Anybody else want to share anything that they're doing?
So this is Danielle. A couple of things we did, especially over the summer, and, you know, as we were more, everyone wasn't sure what day-to-day was going to look like. I put together a newsletter that had I'll call it a hiking scavenger hunt. And I did a spin off the whole Flat Stanley thing, where I had flat cubbies on a stick, and I would hike to somewhere local. And usually my son was the model, took a picture with the flat cubbies. And then I gave 3 clues, and I challenged the families to go find them with their own flat cubbies that we provided that they could print out and do. So we got the families out hiking. They were socially distanced because they were going as a family unit versus with a group. And, you know, they were just trying to be the first to find the spot. So we just did that local, and they would post it on our Facebook page there. We also did a skit challenge, where we had, you know, a family do a skit and then challenge the other families to, you know, respond with a skit. And so we just tried to make it fun, light and fun, and keep, you know, families separate. That's what we did over the summer. But now our monthly hikes, the numbers are up. Like, the families are so excited to be outside, and the weather's great that, you know, we're taking 40 people through the woods on a hike. It's pretty crazy. It's a long train.
Nice. So really, I mean, I'm hearing some really good in-person ideas that are coming from you guys. I've also heard some really good virtual ideas. You know, one of the in-person idea is, you know, again, you can host and I'll take this from what Jillian did on the cyber chip, but, you know, who says you can't host an outside movie night, right? Project it off, you know, get a white sheet, and, you know, you can do it in your backyard and invite your families over and say, hey, we're going to have have an outside movie night and show Moana or something like that. Right now it's October. You can do, obviously, an in-person activity is, and it could be a family activity even, is MUR just sent me an alert on something. Carve your own pumpkin, right? Is an option. Something Danielle has talked about is that she has seen is an increase in the level of hike participation by her family, and actually too by the unit. And if you think about it too, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's some outside requirements for some of at the Cub Scout level, right? Where, there's some identification that has to take place. So, again, you can get them outside, and yet at the same time, you could also cover some rank requirements as well, depending upon, be it bear or Weeblo or whatever the rank level it is. It's maybe a little bit late in the year for this, but host a fishing derby. Be careful with that one. Make sure we're all in compliance with Fish and Game. But who's to say, hey guys, let's go to the local pond and let's go fishing. I mean, the greatest joy in the world, let's face it, is taking your youth, right? Your child, taking them fishing and them catching their very first fish. I mean, it may only be this big, but the smile on their face is 20 times larger. And that's the greatest joy in the world that you can have. Bike rides. Go to one of these rail trails and go for a bike ride. And as you can see from Danielle, she's out camping this weekend with her unit, which is awesome. So some of the other things that are currently happening too is, there's some council sponsored activities that are happening as well. We have, I think last weekend we had Eye Blast for Weeblos and Arrow of Light. Next weekend we have Eye Blast 2, which is for Cub Scouts shooting sports. That's going to be at Camp Carpenter. October 24th we have Spooktacular. October 31st we have a virtual 12-point hike that's going to take place. And then in November we have our Scouting for Food. So, we definitely have a couple of ideas. From a virtual den meeting potential idea, and it's entirely up to you, and I want to share this with you guys real quick, and it's something that I came across, and I'll share my screen with you guys again. Cub Scout Jeopardy is an option, and there we go. So you have Cub Scout Jeopardy, and U.S. flag, the categories, U.S. flag, campouts, Cub Scout rank, special scout events, scout preparedness, right? And so then you and then Cub fun. And so there's your Jeopardy board right there. And so let's just look at the very first question, Alex, U.S. flag for 100, please. And so how many stripes are on the American flag? So you make it a game, right? And not only that, but I mean, I have yet to see anybody who doesn't love some form of competition. And so again, I mean, this is a fun way where you can create a competition, and this can be done on a virtual basis. You can even do it on a Pac level basis, right? On a virtual basis where, hey, this month's Pac meeting is going to be Pac Jeopardy. And so you have Den 1 against Den 3 against Den 5 or whatever it is. And then boom, there you go. There's a potential idea for a virtual, not just Den meeting, but also potentially a Pac meeting as well. So something a little bit different. I came across that, and it could be something that's fun. I think we've covered quite a bit. One of the things, let's see, I understand the camping restrictions based on numbers, but when we have vast open spaces, they seem rather limiting. Thoughts? And I'll answer that one real quick. And the issue that we run into, and this is where our experts are at, it's based on time and it's based on exposure. And, for example, when you have a large amount of people that are all together for an extended period of time, you increase your exposure versus having a unit activity. And that's really kind of the difference. It's about reducing the amount of individuals that all are kind of gather for an extended period of time. We do have a couple of Q&As I want to make sure we get to, because we have 3 minutes left, and I know some people have some soccer games to get to, so I want to make sure that we do get them out. Are Granite-based camp activities available to be used by PACs and DENs? All the virtual Camp Carpenter content was excellent. Oh, Derek, do you want to answer that?
Sure, thanks, John, and thanks to our panelists. Great discussion today. We are preparing to launch a Granite Base Camp at Home version 2.0, and so those programs will be coming out soon, so that families and PACs can be a part of that, as well as Scouts BSA units. There will be content available for them as well. So those programs will be revitalized, changed a little bit from what we did this summer, but certainly there also are some other plans being put into place that will potentially be good resources to den leaders and families to be able to offer programming a little bit more easily to their scouts. So more of that to come in the coming weeks here in the fall.
We have another question that has been raised, and this one I may have to reach out to you separately, and that is where I am. We are struggling to get our PAC together. We had our original PAC leader resign. How can we go about getting our group back together? And so what I'm going to do there is I will reach out to you individually and give you a call and have a conversation. I'll probably engage, depending upon the district in which you're located in, I will likely engage your district commissioner as well in that, in terms of us being able to provide you with some help and some resources. So that's not something I think we can answer at the moment on this thing. Let's see, another question that's in there is, any suggestions for smoothly transitioning from arrival medical screening to breaking into groups of 10 or less, while also making sure the scouts maintain appropriate social distancing? That's always going to be a challenge. And also keeping the meeting momentum moving forward. It's always a fluid time, and it's a real challenge to ensure younger scouts are respecting the 6-foot bubble. Our leaders always seem to be wearing multiple hats, and it's challenging to both be diligent with appropriate precautions and keep things moving and fun. Jillian, I actually was at your Pac meeting with the rocket blastings off, right? And why don't you explain a little bit on how you handled that whole process?
So I think your idea of a gathering activity is really key. So when our guys and girls got checked in for rockets, they were given a scavenger hunt to go along, and we asked the parents to go along with them, and they went and they found stuff throughout camp. It was a nature scavenger hunt. So, and it worked out that, there's turkey feather on the way to the latrine. So that kept some kids far off from the fields, but having something that they can physically do, because you're right, they're not just going to stand around and wait. They're going to start running around. They're going to get in each other's spaces. And that's just the nature of what we're dealing with and with these kids. So having something for them to do, and it can be a scavenger hunt or something physically that they almost have to hold. So word puzzle, a Mad Libs, whatever it is. And you really got to, and it's hard because parents want to get there and they want to talk with their friends. And I get that, it's social for them as well, but getting their Kayla keyed in, and making sure that they're part of this too. Otherwise it is a struggle.
Yeah. Any other ideas from anybody else?
So John, I just put one up on the board for folks. Look at some of the museums as you start to get to closure of facilities. This winter, many of the museums are still offering programming for the public. In fact, they're finding ways to try to engage the community. So a couple that we've identified, for instance, are the Courier Museum of Art. You know, they offer a the second Saturday of every month, they offer a free tour of the museum, and they charge for special exhibits, but they are available for smaller den sizes. So I know those free activities are always a value add to the families and to keep the cost of scouting down. Canterbury Shaker Village has a free walking tour of the facility. So as you look throughout the state for venues that might be close to you, don't forget those types of facilities, because they've found ways to be adaptive, and they certainly would like to see folks continue to come through from the public and be supportive of them as well during this time. So I would highly encourage you in your planning, as you look for indoor activities, to take advantage of some of those resources. And, you know, obviously they're always subjected to potential closure in the future if we spike, but at least for the time being, I would incorporate those in your plans if you're looking for heated indoor use and spaces that can accommodate families.
If anybody has to leave, I know one of my panelists does have a time restriction, so feel free to leave. Don't worry. It's all good. We all have, again, I mean, I know we all have families, right? So we all got to do what's best for our families. Vic, thank you very much for posting that. It's totally slipped my mind, which is that there's a Cub Scout virtual camporee that's scheduled to take place October 23rd and 24th. Can you share any thoughts or what is that?
Sure. So it's if anyone participated in the camporee, the Cub camporee that we had in the spring, it's going to be very similar to that. But if you didn't, then there's going to be both online and offline activities. So the online, there's going to be some Zoom sessions with some panels, and there'll be, I think they're doing an egg drop competition and just different activities that you get to do live and interact with other scouts and other people, you know, in person. And there's also going to be a bunch of activities that you can do on your own without even having to log in. You know, so that if a family doesn't want to do screen time, they can just follow those, and it's all self-guided programs you can run on your own. The way information is getting distributed, you register on the Daniel Webster Council website, and in a moment I'll find that link and put it in there.
Tyler has done it.
Oh, okay, great, thank you, Tyler. Then you'll receive a link to, I think the registration is $10, and it includes a patch, and you'll also get a link with all the information about to get access to the Zoom meetings, or all the information about the different self-guided programs and stuff. There's going to be a campfire as well, and kids can submit skits and songs or anything they want, or even just pictures of what they're doing for the campfire program, similar to Granite Base Camp, where they did that recap video at the end to show off what the kids were doing.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you. So there's a question that's popped up on the Q&A with respect to training, specifically Baloo training. And that the 2 leaders in our unit are currently Baloo trained, have AOL scouts, and they're going to be aging out. What's the plan, basically? So that's been our biggest challenge is what do we do with in-person training? I mean, we have offered some virtual training for position specific. You know, I believe, you know, and I got to talk to our training chair. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, you know, directionally, I think what we could probably offer is a small group type training that allows us to accommodate that following our unit camping guidelines. So I think we can probably do that. I mean, historically speaking, in the fall timeframe, we've had what's typically been called class law. And unfortunately, because of the group sizes, we have had 50 plus consistently in that training program. Whether we run it in the fall or the spring, we always have at least 50. And unfortunately, because of the numbers, we just can't do that. So I will be working with our training chair in terms of seeing if we can pull together a very small Baloo offered training course. The other thing I just want to keep it, everybody's fresh in their minds is youth protection training. Please don't forget to take youth protection training. We do know that there is some issues happening right now with the online My Scouting. So please be patient. If you are having an issue with it, we have also created a, I hate to use the word virtual, we've created an online training where you're going to actually have a live person delivering the content. And we also have the ability to deliver that, the test, because there is a test at the end, right? You don't get away from that. But we have the ability to basically send you the test electronically. That link would only be open for a very short window of time. After that time period, the link would expire. So we have created that that as well. So if it's something that you wanted to schedule for your unit separately, reach out to me, my email address, and I don't mind putting it out there. I'm typing it now into the chat section. But if it is something that you are interested in, certainly reach out to me, and I'll get with the training team and make sure that you guys get the youth protection training. Recharging mind is good through 10/20. Okay, so one of the things, again, just to remind everybody too of how the Daniel Webster Council's youth protection training is, basically you cannot have, your youth protection training cannot expire in the charter year. So, it has to be active. What I can share with you, and I know right away everyone's saying, but wait a minute, the BSA's has a 2-year lifespan on it. What I'm going to tell you right now is that that's going to be changing. There's a push at the national level, and it hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'm telling you, this is what I know based on some meetings I've been involved in. There's a push basically to have that training not expire during the charter year. So the policy that we have here in DWC is spreading. We're not the only council that has adopted that policy. There are other councils that are adopting that same policy as well. It's not fun chasing people down with expired youth protection training. I can tell you right now. So, but if you are having issues and struggling with youth protection training online, please reach out to us. Let us know. We do know at the national level there is some issues right now with the My Scouting. We have reached out to them several times. Just do your best, but just stay in touch with us and communicate with us, and we'll work with you in helping resolve your issues. I do want to bring this to a little bit of a close here. We're now 10 minutes over in time. I hope everybody's enjoyed today's session. I hope everybody has gotten something out of this morning's coffee with the commissioner. I want to thank Vic. I want to thank Jillian, Danielle, Jay, Derek, and Tyler, and Melissa, who had to leave. But I do want to thank everybody for attending. I hope, again, everyone finds this helpful. The next coffee with the commissioner will be troop or Scout BSA based, whereas this one was Cub Scout based. So that will be announced shortly as to when that will be occurring. So again, thank you very much for your time, and enjoy your Saturday. Get out there. It's a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thanks.